Well, how are you guys? I'm just trying to get situated so that my light isn't so super bright, and maybe my handy dandy folks will be able to edit this part out. I feel like the light is super bright behind me, which is good. You know, I'm in Florida and we need light. Let there be light. All right, okay, let's come over here. Maybe that will help. I hope I'm not like shadowy on here. So, hey everybody, how are you? This is Kim Anderson, and I am here with our next civics lesson. And guys, listen, I'm really honored and excited to be able to bring you these lessons, because really what we're creating is a civics course online for people to be able to come on and watch and check out and just start to learn maybe some things that they have forgotten or some things that they had never learned in school. And so we're just really honored to be partnering with the Founding Project to be able to take civics all across the nation to help people understand the significance of being an American citizen and what it means and how it was fought for and debated over and struggled with, so that we can be right where we are right now. And let me tell you where we are right now. This is our first video. It doesn't matter when you're watching, but just so that you know, for time understanding, this is our first video of 2018. Now, you might be watching this in November of 2018. I don't care, but I just want you to know that we are committed to bringing you this ongoing civics lesson as we create this online course for anyone and everyone to be able to use. And so, like I said, I'm honored. And today, whenever you're watching, I'm coming to you, as you can see from the background, I'm coming to you from Central Florida, and I'm just happy to have some natural daylight, and I can sit outside and share these things with you, because it has been a chilly start to the new year. So I'm just happy to be outside and to be able to do that. So without further ado, I want to jump into our lesson today. And I don't want to keep you long, but I do want to keep you right. But I want to talk to you about the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Now, as we had said, we're taking our lessons from Alpha Omega, the homeschool publisher, and their civics course, and we're starting book 2. And as we ended book 1, we talked about the Articles of Confederation. I know, right? The Articles of Confederation, and how that document was really a precursor to the Constitution, because it just really didn't have the teeth and the meat for the federal government to really be able to enforce it on the states. And the states were fighting for all that they could to keep their autonomy, because the states in essence were acting as their own countries, and to get them to come together under one unified front as the United States, there needed to be a stronger meteor, document that held the states accountable in ways that the Articles of Confederation just could not. And so we have in the spring and summer of 1787, once again, another gathering in Philadelphia. You know, hey, thank goodness for Philadelphia, right? Another gathering in Philadelphia. From May to September, that has become known as the Constitutional Convention. And so this is actually really the foundation of the country, because they're literally getting ready to throw out the Articles of Confederation. And once again, and the Articles of Confederation, let's be clear, when they were done, it was radical, it was new, it was still cutting edge. But as they implemented it and tried to execute it, that's when they found out that it was better in theory than it was in practice, and they needed something that was stronger in practice, so that it could continue to galvanize the United States. Okay? And so we're here in Philadelphia in 1787, from May to September. And the statesmen from all over this great land, as we knew it then, had come together to Philadelphia to hash this out. Because the one thing that the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, and I'll talk about that in a minute, what they could agree on was that, and they didn't agree on much, as we'll see, But one of the things they agreed on was that the Articles of Confederation, they had to go. But what that meant was a couple of different things. And so the Federalists were in favor of a stronger central government, and they wanted a constitution. They wanted they were in favor of a stronger federal central government. And the Anti-Federalists, if you could put it in those terms, it's not that they were opposed to a constitution. They were just more in favor of individual rights and not having a federal government usurp or dictate to an individual in regards to their liberties and to their freedoms. Okay. And so they debated. I mean, you had these two opposing sides, but they knew that they had to come up with something that was going to be different, inclusive. And I really appreciate the fact that they really did not shy away from debate. And what happened, if I could give you sort of the guys that were on the Federalist side, and then we'll bring on the guys that were on the Anti-Federalists. It's not that they were Anti-Federalists, like they were anti the country. They just were anti, and they sort of got that name by default, right? Because the Federalists were like, we are the people that want the Constitution. If you don't want the Constitution, you're against us, so now you're anti. They weren't against it per se. They were just very pro the individual, and they did not want the government to forget the individual rights of the citizens. Now you still have to remember they have the residue of the monarchy and how the monarchy dictated to the citizenry. And so there's still this residual residue, say that twice. But there's this underlying remembrance of how dictatorial or totalitarian and how oppressive a monarchy can be. And the Anti-Federalists are fighting for everything they have to not let this new opportunity of government slip back so easily into that form of government. So they were labeled Anti-Federalists, but they were just really pro the individual rights and liberties. Can we just put it in that term? Now, the Federalists, I'm going to just give you some names. So if I look down, just know that's what I'm doing. Federalists were, they're an interesting group because they were well organized. They had good funding. They had been involved pretty much in the Revolutionary War. And so they had dealt with things on a national issue. And so their names as Federalists and statesmen were more prominent than the Anti-Federalists, with one exception. But the Federalists were led by James Madison. We've heard of him. Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, John Marshall, James Wilson, John Dickinson, and Roger Sherman. Now, they were strengthened because it was believed at that time that the two most influential statesmen, George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, were Federalists. Now, as far as history goes, don't you think you pretty much want to be on the side of George Washington? Like, he was like the guy to be on the side of. And so because the Federalists were, so well organized in their arguments, what they began to do to promote their cause back to the people was that they began publishing articles, written articles in newspapers around the country at the time. And those writings became known, what we can go back and read today, as the Federalist Papers. And the Anti-Federalists did the same thing. But it was this sort of this ongoing public debate about how to form this new government. And once again, the Federalists wanted a stronger central government. Now, I don't think they wanted total control to go to the federal government on that level, but they just needed it to be stronger than the Articles of Confederation. And the Anti-Federalists kind of just wanted it to be the Articles of Confederation, just add on to it. You know what I'm saying? And so they're on opposite sides, but not, because they know they've got to do something. And so if I tell you who some of the anti-Federalists are, you've heard of them too. Patrick Henry, George Mason, Richard Henry, James Monroe, John Hancock, Samuel Adams, the real Samuel Adams, Thomas Paine, and there was one other person that was in the anti-Federalist camp, some guy named Thomas Jefferson. Anybody ever heard of him? Yeah. So, so it's sort of like the Federalists had George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, and the anti-Federalists had Thomas Jefferson. Yeah, they're going to debate. There's going to be a debate there. And so they had lots of political differences. I'm just looking down at my notes. Like I said, but the one thing that they were in agreement about was the fact that something needed to change. And they disagreed about everything. They disagreed about should there be 3 branches of government? They disagreed about the power over the federal government over the states. They disagreed about everything. They literally disagreed about everything. There was nothing that they agreed on except that there needed to be change. Now, here was the anti-Federalist strongest argument. And I think they sort of forsook everything else for this one argument. And they wanted a Bill of Rights. But the Federalists said, if we don't include every individual liberty in our Bill of Rights, then the federal government at some point in the future can say, if it's not mentioned, then it's fair game. Then we can take control of that. And so, but the anti-Federalists were adamant. This was their one major sticking point, because literally they gave in on everything else. They gave in on everything else. 3 branches of government, the Constitution. But they were like, we have to have a Bill of Rights. We have to have a Bill of Rights. We have to have a Bill of Rights, because what do the Bill of Rights do? Now, I actually went and picked up my handy dandy pocket Constitution, and I looked at it, because so much of what I think is the Constitution is actually the Bill of Rights, because what actually happens and what's laid out in the Constitution and the articles is the formation. I just got this message. Okay, baby, thanks. This came down on my phone, right? But actually what the Constitution set up was the form of federal government. Article 1 sets up the legislative branch. I'm just looking through this. Article 2 sets up the executive branch. Article 3 sets up the judicial branch, and so on. It just sets up the form of government. But the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, protects the individual liberties that we have. And isn't that amazing? They came up with this great Constitution and immediately came up with 10 amendments, right? Like this great, awesome document. And then they came up with these 10 amendments, which became the Bill of Rights, which when we today think about it, the individual rights that we have guaranteed in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are sort of what makes us Americans. It's what we stand on. We have freedom of speech. We have the right to bear arms. We have the right not to incriminate ourselves, because that's what they put in. So the anti-Federalists are who we have to thank for that Bill of Rights that actually protects us individually from the federal government. Isn't that amazing? Now, as I was thinking about that, I was like, well, which camp would I have been in? Would I have been a Federalist, or would I have been an anti-Federalist? And it's kind of hard, because we've grown up, those of us that are watching this video, we've grown up under both, right? We've grown up understanding the beauty of having individual liberties, understanding the power of states' rights covered by a federal government. And isn't it awesome and amazing that we have such freedom and liberty because of the Bill of Rights, that we can live in states that are equal to our own individual beliefs as we interpret them in the Bill of Rights? We have that ability. We are free to move about the country. Oh my gosh, my battery was shutting down. Okay. Here we go. I got to wrap this up. Don't shut down. Okay. So I'm just going to keep talking, and I'm believing that you can hear me. So Thomas Jefferson is really key and central to getting the Bill of Rights included as an amendment to the Constitution, because it is said that he while he was in France as the ambassador, while this debate was going on, that he wrote letters back to his Federalist friends telling them that the people were entitled to a listing of their rights. And so, guys, it's a key debate. It's crucial to our understanding that there were groups and factions, but they came together, and even still, despite their differences, they created a constitution that created our form of federal government and a Bill of Rights that stated on a federal level what our individual liberties were and how important they were to be protected for us and from the federal government so that they could not infringe upon our individual rights. I'm telling you, this understanding makes it a great day to be an American. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up here because my battery is about to run out. Hello, somebody. What is that about? So this is Kim Anderson, Kim in all caps. Follow the Founding Project on Facebook, like our website. Send me your caps so I can continue to give you guys shout outs. I'm so honored to have been with you today. When we come back, our next message is going to be entitled As Good as It Gets. I can't wait to hear what that's about. All right, guys, I got to go. I got to run. I will talk to you soon. Kim Anderson, over and out. Bye-bye.